Hello, Tams Game Crew. We're talking CRPGs. Now, CRPGs are a nice little niche subgenre of the wider RPG genre. We won't get into debates of what defines RPGs and what defines CRPGs because that debate's been done for 20 odd 30 odd years, and it's still never been settled. So I say whatever defines an RPG is down to you, your own personal definition of it. For me, CRPGs are basically Western RPGs, Western style RPGs that are all based around that kind of classic fantasy and sci-fi Western vibe. And contain quite a lot of depth and are driven mainly by character builds. Really, I think character builds are all the great CRPGs that I can think of are having a wide variety and a deep set of character builds to play about with makes a big difference. I think it's a formula that's been watered down over the years. When we look back to where the CRPGs kind of started in the 80s, and where they evolved to. I mean, I kind of jumped on board CRPGs in the very, very early 90s with Buck Rogers' Countdown to Doomsday, which is one of my favourite CRPGs. So we will talk about that game now. Buck Rogers' Countdown to Doomsday, originally a PC game, which had like a kind of dungeon crawler set up to it. Again, classic CRPG based in that SSI series. If nobody talked about, I dare say somebody's already talked about it, but the SSI series is a very popular and very impactful CRPG series. Really, what kind of like set the world alight back in the 80s and 90s with CRPGs. But Rogers Countdown to Doomsday was one of those, and it transitioned onto the Sega Mega Drive. And in doing so, they changed it from being like a dungeon crawler visual setup to a isometric setup, which kind of a lot of CRPGs were shifting to anyway around that time anyway. And it worked a treat. It really did. I still think it's a fucking amazing game. I only replayed it again, probably about 3 months ago. It's a game that I can't believe how well it's transitioned to console. It manages to do that. They've done a perfect port in that they've kept a good chunk of the complexity that was on the PC. Not all of it. You do lose. It does water it down a bit, but still kept a good amount. But they've also simplified it enough for a non-CRPG fan to be able to get into, and that's what it did for me, and that's how it got me into the genre. The game itself is just a wonderful little sci-fi voyage. I mean, it's essentially Mass Effect for the 90s. The graphics are terrible. The sound's not great either. It's very lacking in its standard presentation, but it does come with some fantastic little cutscenes, and these cutscenes add a lot to it. But as a game itself, brilliant. It's really, really fantastic. Again, it offers you the chance to build your own squad. I must have finished this game. I must have finished it 50 times easily over the years, because I just think of all the different squads I've built and how much fun I've had building these squads. And as well as offering you the character build aspect of it, it's got fantastic choice and consequence. It's choice and consequence are what really make RPGs to me. And if you've not got good choice and consequence, I think you're missing quite a lot. And this is a game where if you make the wrong decision, you're dead basically. If you've just got to use a bit of common sense. But there's no end of times in this game where you can say, right, I'm gonna I'll say, right, do you want to shoot that guy, or do you want to let him live? And if you make the wrong decision, that's it, game over. And it just adds a lot of tension and a lot of impactful weight to the game. So I think that's fantastic. I think the combat's great. It's got really nice tactical combat. It's turn-based, and the combat is all about taking your opponent from behind, which I know Sir Joe might like this one, but it's about getting positioning on him about attacking them from one angle and then getting somebody to flank them from another angle. So it's basic. It is basic, but it's great. It really is great. And there's obviously area of effect weapons such as grenades and rocket launchers and that feed into that. So it's great. It's got really nice balanced challenge. It's got it's there's plenty of challenge. Well, there is a challenge there, but it's still an easy-ish game unless you overstep the mark and you go to areas and levels that you're not leveled up for yet. So it's a wonderful game. The exploration aspect of it is it's fantastic. It gives you plenty to get your teeth into. You're exploring the galaxy. It is you don't get all the planets, unfortunately. You only get Earth through to Mercury. Is it Mercury? No, Earth through to Mars. Sorry, Mercury through to Mars. That's what I meant. And it is like I say, it's a 90s Mass Effect. So if that sounds up your street, I'd say give it a try because it's got a lot to offer. There are there's some dated elements you've got to bear with. There's a few aspects. It is a bit thin on the ground in some of the RPG aspects, but it's still a wonderful game, fantastic, wonderful game. So I suggest checking that out. And the other game I'm going to mention, which is one of the all-time great classics and is one of my favorite games ever, is Baldur's Gate 2. And Baldur's Gate 2, I mean, everybody's talking about Baldur's Gate 3 because of how it's taken the gaming world by storm this past few years. Baldur's Gate 2, I mean, it's just as good, man. It's just, if not better. Baldur's Gate 2 is just, there's so much to it. There's so much to it. I've only finished it 7 times over the year because it's an RPG that whereas Buck Rogers Countdown to Doomsday, you can finish it in like 15-20 hours. Baldur's Gate 2 is like 150 hours to finish. If you're getting tucked into it, you can go through it way quicker. But if you're wanting to get really your teeth into it, it's a big RPG. But it's just everything about it is amazing. Everything about it is wild. I can't say how much depth and choice and consequence, and it's for you who like romances in game. It's got romances. It's got a wonderful cast of characters. Wonderful, like I say, I've replayed it 7 times, and never once have I replayed it with the same cast. There's so many different options to choose from. They all have amazing banter. If you have 2 different members, they have different banter. And it's kind of what Dragon Age was built on, you know what I mean? But because there's so many characters, there's a lot of variety there. It's wild out. It respects the player. These characters. If you say the wrong thing, they'll leave. If you keep 2 characters in who don't get on with each other, one will leave. You will have to choose. There's a lot of situations here which don't marry up perfectly. You have to be a leader. You can't just let the game beat itself, which is superb. It's got so many different areas, so many different wonderful places to discover. In your first dungeon, as you leave the dungeon, you discover a set of dryads in there, and it's that type of wonder. It's just wonderful. It's just wonderful. And to top it all off, it's got, for me, probably the best villain in gaming. I think the main villain in this game is a guy called John Irenicus, and you meet him very early. There's no spoilers with that, and he's your captor and tormentor, and he's a pretty nasty piece of work. But he's got a very cool backstory, and he's voiced by the legendary, was the legendary, bless him, who's now dead, bless him, David Warner, the great late David Warner, and he does an amazing job. It really does an amazing job. Warner's performance here it's typical David Warner. If you've ever seen David Warner in anything like Time Bandits, or Man with Two Brains, or he's renowned for playing villains, but he's just got a fantastic theatrical way to him, just a presence that adds a lot of gravitas to this game. So I'm not gonna keep talking about it anymore because it's honestly I'll go on about it all night. But I would say with these two games, I would say everybody should play Baldur's Gate 2. It has got, well, both these games have got a bit of a difficulty, not a difficulty, but a learning curve. That's what I'm looking for. You're not going to get into these straight away if you've never played a CRPG before. If you know you're going to have to learn. You've got to learn these games to appreciate it. But if you do manage to get these learned and appreciated, there's some brilliant, fantastic game in both of them. So hope hope you're enjoying your CRPGs. Hope you enjoy the rest of the show. Keep your gaming timeless.